Hi there, I'm Roy Ice, the host of Lifestyle Magazine, television's life coaching series, and in the next 5 days, we're going to take revolutionary steps together to build your indestructible life in a world that's falling apart. If you'd like to make this year different, to get unstuck, many of you have not only been stuck in your homes for longer than you thought you'd ever be, but you've also found yourself stuck in your levels of success, in your weight loss, stuck in a lonely rut in your relationships, and stuck beneath the levels of joy, happiness, and life fulfillment that you know in your heart of hearts you were made to experience. I believe that if you want to be extraordinary, you have to do things extra than the ordinary, don't you? So that's what we're going to do here. And these are the things that I'm really excited to share with you over the next 5 life-changing sessions. Now, like I said, I'm the host of Lifestyle Magazine, television's #1 life coaching series, which has connected millions of people with the key strategies to help you live your best life possible. On TV, we've interviewed for decades, interviewing celebrities, authors, and experts, which ultimately has helped us share the 5 key strategies to launching your best life of happiness, purpose, success. And I can't wait to share each of these 5 keys with you during these short sessions. Now, the exciting part is that during our time together, you're not only going to hear from me, but you're also going to get to hear directly from some very profound people, some celebrities that you've always wanted to meet, and some that you may not even know much about. You're going to get to see more of the personal side of their lives, the struggles they've had that maybe you've experienced as well. You'll see the victories they've won and the massive success that they've experienced as they became aware of these key strategies and have implemented these same things into their own lives. In fact, it's fitting that the first letter of each of these 5 keys actually spells the word aware. And once you become aware of each of these and plug them into your life, I can safely say that your quality of life will leap forward in many ways that you've always wanted. I'm in my 50s, and I feel like I'm still in my 30s. And that's because I've implemented these 5 key practices and principles into my own life, and I'm going to share them with you. So, to start us off, I have to make you conscious of something that will absolutely determine how potent these keys will be in your life and in your own personal situation where you live. The best way I can think of helping you to understand what I'm talking about is to share with you my experience with Justin Wright. You may not recognize this name right off, but I bet you've seen his work. Justin was an exceptional student. I should know, over 20 years ago, before I was a TV show host, I worked as a high school teacher, and he was one of my students. Now, I had a rule in my classroom that students were not allowed to work on other things during our class period. If you didn't get your English or math homework done at home for those classes, it was too bad for you. Inside my classroom, we focused on my subject material. And so from time to time, as I'd walk between the rows of desks during my class lectures, I'd have to close textbooks from other classes or hot rod magazines or what have you. I do it without comment because I don't like embarrassing anyone. I just wanted them to focus without distraction. But one day, I came upon Justin's desk, and his notepad, it just caught my eye. Across the page, amazing drawings, sketched characters that looked like Disney animation quality, but characters I had never seen before filled the pages. I closed his notebook as I continued teaching, and I moved on. At the end of the class, I asked Justin to stay by, which of course caused all the exiting students to say, ooh, but Justin just looked a little nervous and sat there. I asked him to open his notebook again for me, and I asked, Justin, what are all these drawings? They're characters that I'm developing, he said. I'm going to be a story artist for Disney or Pixar. You're going to be? I asked him. Not I want to be or I hope to be. No, he said firmly, I am going to be a story artist for Disney or Pixar. I couldn't help but smile. I completely resonated with his artist heart and his dogged determination. So I said, Justin, you know I don't allow students to do any other work while they're in my class, don't you? He nodded. Well, I'm going to make you a deal. We're going to call what you're doing doodling. You can doodle and pay attention to me at the same time, can't you? He bobbed his head vigorously. But here's the real deal. I'm going to be asking you questions throughout the class, just like I ask all the other students, and at any time, if you're unable to answer a question or you answer it incorrectly, just close your notebook, stop doodling in my class for the rest of the year. Is that a deal? Absolutely, he agreed. So throughout the rest of the year, I asked Justin more questions than any other student, and wouldn't you know it, he answered immediately and correctly each and every time. He truly was amazing. Now, fast forward several years and imagine my overwhelming joy as Justin took me for a tour of his workplace right there at Pixar Studios in Emeryville, California. He was working as a story artist on Toy Story 3 when he had me come visit. In fact, not longer after I got to see him, while he was still in the midst of working on that film, his heart, a heart that had been transplanted right there into his chest as a child, that heart gave out while he was at his desk doing what he loved. You can see a tribute to Justin Wright at the end credits of the Pixar movie Wall-E, a film that he had served on as a story artist. It is in this, his final completed work, that I want you to see something that will affect how you understand the first key that I'm about to share with you and every key thereafter. Now, most of you have probably seen Pixar's movie Wall-E, but to help remind you and to catch everybody else up who hasn't seen it yet, let me just set the scene here. Wall-E is a trash collecting robot left on Earth to clean up all of the trash that humanity has accumulated. It's been about 750 years since humanity has left the Earth aboard a luxury space liner. And Wall-E is the last remaining robot that is still operational, collecting the piles of stuff left behind, compacting it into cubes, and stacking them into skyscraper-tall towers. In one of the opening scenes, Justin and the team say something quite profound about the entire theme of this story, and most everyone misses it. Viewers just think that this is a silly little moment. This particular scene shows Wall-E collecting items that he deems valuable, and he squirrels them away in his little home pod. Now, in this establishing scene, Wall-E happens upon a black velvet jewelry box. He opens it, and it reveals a massive solitaire diamond ring. He lets out a long, whoa! Then he plucks the ring from its perch, tosses it, and keeps the box. This is actually the message of the entire movie, and most everyone misses it because they think that this movie is about an old broken down robot getting the girl robot to love him and returning a living plant and all of humanity with it back to the earth. But it's not. This movie is about boxes and diamonds. The value we place on externals and on the things internal. We laugh at a silly little robot that we get excited about some cheap box. But in fact, the vast majority of humanity does this every single day. And some people do it several times a day. We prioritize the things that are external, and we devalue or we toss out completely the precious gem, the part of you that is internal. We think that happiness, a sense of success and fulfillment come from the things that are external. The mansion, the fat bank account, the exotic cars, the luxuries that come along with success. But I can tell you firsthand from my own experience and from the consistent experience of the celebrities that I work with every day regularly, that external success without an emphasis on your internal success creates the perfect environment for complete failure. I tell people the quantity of your life does not dictate the quality of your life. The amount or quantity of good or bad things that you have in your life, it does not determine how good or bad the quality of your life is. I know people who have more money and things in their life then they know what to do with it. And they're some of the most miserable people on this planet. But I also know wealthy people who are the happiest people in the world, and they do incredible good with their wealth. On the other hand, I work with people who have little to no money, and they've been kicked really hard while they're down by some of the worst things that life can throw at you. And they are the most joy-filled and success-bound people I've ever seen. They're not blinded by the externals. They understand that there is a diamond inside, and their moment to shine is coming. Their attitude is not controlled by the box that they're in. This is your first key to becoming indestructible in a world that's falling apart. Here's the reality. Typically, we do everything possible to avoid pain and discomfort. We hate being uncomfortable. We don't want to have to struggle. But listen to me closely here. It is the struggle that makes you stronger. Winning can actually make you weaker, and failing makes you fit. It seems like it should be the opposite way around, doesn't it? But it's not. It's the struggle that makes you stronger. Think about this. One of the greatest challenges currently faced in getting astronauts to Mars is not building a rocket ship to get them there. No, it's also not all the complex navigational calculations or anything like that. The greatest challenge in getting humans to Mars is keeping the astronauts' muscles fit enough to be able to walk on the surface of Mars once they get there, even though the gravity is only about 1/3 of what we have here on Earth. Our bodies absolutely need the resistance, the stress against our muscles, and our minds need it too. Most of us do everything that we possibly can to avoid any struggle or discomfort, and we avoid it like the plague. We don't want problems. We run from problems. We'll even ignore problems, hoping that those problems will just somehow go away. But take a step back with me and see life as it really is. Problems don't happen to you. They happen for you. It is the problems in your life that provide the gravity, the stress that your mental muscles actually need to build your attitude muscles. I want you to take a look at two of our friends, Josh Blue and RJ Mitty. Both of them have cerebral palsy. One uses it to make you laugh, the other to make you feel, but they both make you think. Josh, if you're wondering who Josh Blue is, he won the 4th season of Last Comic Standing. His material comes from a reality he's been living with since his birth. RJ Mitty got a big break in his acting career when he played in the acclaimed television series Breaking Bad as Walter White Jr. Two of our key experts, Lionel Mountain and Obi Obadike, sat down with them in the studio and asked these two very successful young men, how have you had such stellar success despite the disabilities that life has thrown at you? And this is how the conversation went.
Yeah, because, CP isn't something that makes people stupid. It's kind of like a wall. We have all this information. We just can't always vocalize it. And it's inside of us. And for me, it's hard to see people. I've worked with different people where you want to say something and you can't. And that's what I think sums it up with a lot of people that have CP, is that it's not because they're stupid or not intelligent. It's there. They just can't deliver it. And, people think it's genetic. A lot of people think that this is something that is...
Right. What is CP for our viewers who might not know? Is it a disease? What is it?
No. Do you want
You go for your... I won't say it right.
No. Oh, come on, man. No, so...
I have to bleep it out.
He didn't make a joke about it. No, CP, so CP isn't a disease. It isn't genetic. No. What it is it's lack of oxygen to the brain at childbirth. So when you are being born, oxygen is being introduced to the body. And as oxygen is being introduced, as that first air hits the brain, it sparks it and it ignites us. And that's what finds a lot of our mentalities, how we behave, how we act, is how the air is introduced to your brain. Oh. And with that, then let's say that lack of oxygen happens. Well, your brain actually doesn't get fully activated. And there are neurological pathways that are normally created that just don't exist. So for us, we have certain parts of our brain that are not necessarily dead, but they've never been alive. Oh. So our neural pathways had to get strong enough to develop our walking, our talking, and whatever it may be that we're doing, to go, this is the path we take. We don't go through the black spot of this brain, because if you look at it on a map, there's spots on our brain that are just blacked out. There's just no flow.
Some of mine are self-inflicted.
Mine are too.
I think what's amazing is that the things that you guys both do are the most fearful things that the average everyday person doesn't want to do, like speaking in front of a group of people, acting. Right. That's not easy to do. Most people, they get scared. So imagine now adding this disability, and you're still doing some of the most fearful and scariest things that people avoid doing. And I think that's what's really impressive to me.
I feel like that, like, it's not even a question of disability. To me, it's like, I'm just going to go do what I want to do. It's outside people telling me that I can't do it because of my palsy. Like, I never once thought I couldn't do it. It's just other people telling me that I shouldn't be able to do it. And I'm like, well, watch this.
Good for you.
Yeah. People will tell you you can, especially with what we have and the limitations. And, you know, we find, and I find, it's more and less that when someone tells you you can't do something, that's their limitation. That's who they are. That's their, they look at you and they go, I couldn't do that. I couldn't be that person, but I am that person, and I do that, and we do that. And that's what that's what we live with.
I often feel that most people that I know with palsy are smarter than the able-bodied people, just because they have had to take a different path to get to the end result, as opposed to everybody going the same way through life.
Wow, wasn't that great? These two resourceful guys found another path. Their neurons in their brain weren't the only thing that found another path. They, within their mindset, found another path. They didn't do what everyone else in their condition was doing, and they had the attitude that didn't allow any excuses to derail them from their goals. Listen very closely here. The only limits that you have are the limits that you place on yourself. So why sabotage your results? Stop limiting your ambitions. The actual possibilities that you have in your life are the ones that you believe are truly possible. You control the levels of your success because what you believe affects what you do. If you don't actually believe it's possible, you're not going to go through the hard work to do it, are you? And this is what I mean by having an attitude key. I want you to do something with me. Either take out a piece of paper or in a pen, or write this on your phone or your electronic tablet. I want you to list 3 things that you want to accomplish. Maybe you want to buy a new house or a car, or get out of debt, or get a promotion, or start your own business, or lose weight. Perhaps it's more about your relationships or your physical fitness, whatever it is. Write down 3 things that you want to accomplish. List them just right there, 1, 2, and 3. Now take a look at each of these desires and ask yourself what your limiting beliefs are regarding these 3. What excuses do you have to not crush all 3 of these goals this year? I don't have time. I don't have the skills. I don't have the relational network. I don't have the money. I can't afford it. What is the limit that you've already placed on your solutions? Now, I have 2 sons. One in elementary school and one in junior high. And I do not allow them to say, I can't afford it. That phrase is not allowed in my house and has not been allowed in my house for many years. Instead, my boys have to ask the question, how can I afford it? The difference between I can't afford it and how can I afford it is revolutionary. It causes you to stop looking at your limitations, and it forces you to use a completely different part of your brain. Now, instead of being bombarded with a list of reasons why it's impossible, you begin building a different list, a list of natural resources at your disposal. My own boys have realized that there is a lawnmower in our garage along with edgers and trimmers and brooms. They can work, and that time translates to money. There is a vacuum in the hall closet. There are toys and games that they no longer play with that they can sell. There are opportunities to be mined all around them if they just start asking how instead of saying, I can't. Now, I do this consistently with my boys because I want them to grow up naturally with this key attitude ingrained in their approach to life. And I suggest that you start doing this as well. Now, look again at your list of 3 things. Ask this question today and for as many days as it takes for your brain to get around your limiting beliefs. How can I accomplish this? Your subconscious actually loves this type of exercise. Even while you're sleeping, it will continue working on a solution here. That's why perhaps you've experienced a moment when you wake up in the morning or even in the middle of the night where the creative solution just seems to have come to you. To better understand this first and most important key, attitude, I want you to meet another friend of mine. His name is Warwick Dunn. He spent 12 seasons as a football player in the NFL, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year and playing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, and in 3 Pro Bowls. He's currently a partial owner of the Atlanta Falcons as well. Before all of his achievements, just 2 days after his 18th birthday, Warwick's mother, a police officer, was shot and killed during a botched robbery attempt by 3 thugs who were trying to intercept a nighttime business cash deposit that Warwick's mother was helping to give a police escort for. Warwick, the eldest of 6 siblings, became the guardian of his 5 younger brothers and sisters just 2 days after his 18th birthday, because he also did not have the benefit of having a father who was in any way present in their lives. Now, most people would probably just fold under those tragic conditions. But Warwick did not let the externals give him any excuses to stop him from achieving his goals. I've always said excuses are the enemy of greatness because they allow you to stop doing the tough work necessary to achieve your success. Whatever you do, do not allow yourself any excuses from today onward. Warwick didn't, and look at what he accomplished in the process. But he actually did something even greater, and that's what I want you to witness right here. I sat down with him and Lifestyle Magazine's attitude key expert, Lionel LaMountain, to talk about the most amazing thing he ever did to have victory over the externals and to find the greatest peace and fulfillment on the inside. We wanted to talk with Warwick about an appointment he set up to meet face-to-face with his mother's killer. And here's how the conversation went. And we're back with NFL legend Warwick Dunn. Now, Warwick, you chose to meet with one of your mom's murderers. Why in the world would you want to do that?
Well, after counseling, I went for 6 to 9 months. I got to a point where I was really searching for peace. I had a lot of questions. I needed answers. So I just really started on that journey. And I got to the point, it's like, wow, I need to go and talk to the guy who actually did this. I asked my counselor, do you think it's safe for me? Or do you think it's ideal? And it was like, yeah, I think you're in a really good place. So we ended up setting up a meeting to go to Angola prison. I flew out. My pops, Malin Brooks, who was like my father figure at that time, he taught me the game of football, so he was someone that I trusted and loved, and he came with me. So, but when we got to Angola prison, the warden says, I'm surprised that you're here, but he's not going to tell you he did it. They never do. They only do that when they're on the table before they're about to leave. I said, okay. So my expectation of him saying, hey, I actually did it and I'm sorry, wasn't there. So that dropped. So we ended up going, I toured the facility. Then I actually went into a room, and believe it or not, I wasn't behind bars. It was a round table. He was in a jumpsuit. He had chains on. He had his attorneys there. And I was there, just a round table, and we had a conversation. And he started off by saying, Ward, I didn't do it. And I said, okay, you know, what I was expecting him to say, because I was warned already, I accepted that. But then I just really listened to him talk. And he told me, hey, I followed your career. I was following your brother's career. Your sister, she's running track at Louisiana Tech. You know, so he was really following my family. And that just hit me. It's like, well, if you weren't focused on my family or had any regret, why are you worried about how her kids are doing?
True.
And so I just got to the point where now it was my time to talk. And the first few things came out of my mouth was that, I know you say you didn't do it, but I'm here to say that I forgive you. I'm here to take that power back from you. And once I told him that I forgave him, I just shared with him how this one incident has affected every aspect of my life, how it affected my brothers and sisters' lives. And I just told him, you changed my life forever. And, you know, it's been a journey for me. And this is part of my healing process. So thank you. I thanked them for meeting with me. But I just told them, I forgive you. You know, years ago, you made a mistake. I forgive you. And I just want to take that power back. And I did that. And I just felt a lot better, actually, after that. And, you know, that journey for me just really, how can I improve other areas of my life? So I continue to go to counseling because I needed to work on different areas. I just knew over the years that different things come up. You have different things that happen, and it takes me back to, or that situation has scarred me and hurt me in a way that, you know, I needed someone to help me put the pieces together. So, that helped set me free. And it was just a journey after that to continue putting the pieces together.
So Warwick, you talked about this a little bit, but please, how do you define forgiveness? I think I heard you saying, but to you, what does forgiveness mean? Because you made some powerful statements in there.
Well, I was to the point where, you know, to forgive somebody, I wanted to take the power back. You know, he had so much control over my life, you know, how I moved and the things that went on in my life and you know, how I was going to live my life moving forward, because that's the person who controlled my mind. You know, anytime my mom's name come up, I just go back to payback, or you want to injure that person. You know, it's just, you wanted retribution. And I just wanted to get to a point where that's not controlling my life anymore. I wanted to move forward. And, you know, I just felt like if I can get to the point where I can truly say that I forgive you, and by the grace of God, you know, I got there. And I think counseling really helped me get there, but I always relied on my faith. And I was there, and I just really wanted to take that power back and not let someone control my emotions anymore.
You know, I appreciate you saying that, because as you're talking, you know, you encourage me and everyone who's watching that forgiveness is a pathway to freedom. Whether or not the other person deserves it or not, forgiveness is a pathway to freedom. I mean, that's very powerful.
Yeah, well, you live with no regrets, right? So now I can look back. It's like he doesn't affect my future. My past, he's a part of my past. Yes. But now my future is controlled by me and the things that I want to do. So.
Isn't Work Done a great example of someone who understood how offering forgiveness, even to people who aren't asking for it, can free you from the constrictions of the box that is containing you and your joy? The takeaway here is, and maybe you want to write this down if you want to have some massive success here too. Don't allow the circumstances of your life to dictate the trajectory of your life. That's right. Don't allow the circumstances of your life to dictate the trajectory of your life. I know it's easy to say, but it sure is difficult to put into practice, isn't it? But here's the secret. Living with this attitude is how you'll actually break free from the confines of the box yourself. That's why we call them breakthroughs. because you're breaking through these walls of the box that have kept you apart from the life you were made to live. So how do you keep the circumstances of your life from dictating the trajectory of your life? It's a really good question, and I'm really glad you're asking it. I want you to write this powerful phrase down. Have this with you throughout your day to read it whenever you need it. Write this sentence down. My pain does not dictate my progress. That's right. The secret mindset is my pain does not dictate my progress. You can't let your pain tell you what is possible and what is not possible. I know, that's a real challenge. If you've ever had a toothache, I know, all you can think about is that throbbing pain, the tooth. All of your focus turns to how can I stop that pain? If someone else comes up to you at that moment in your life and asks you for help or support, you think they're being absolutely ridiculous to ask you for help when you're obviously in pain yourself, and maybe in even more pain than them. You and I both know that it would be a complete fantasy for me to prescribe for you to just let the pain go, or to just not think about it and to focus on your life purpose. Life doesn't work that way. The pain doesn't simply go away because we want it to. So, how do we get rid of it? I've got another guest that will show you exactly how she was able to forgive those who caused her indescribable pain. But before we move on to her, I want to share some resources with you. And then I want you to see one last thing that Warwick shared with me that shows what you can do once you deal with the pain of loss. If you are struggling with grief or depression, I want you to please click on the button here on this webpage and let us know. We have some great resources and materials. We'd love to share them with you. Seeking out help is the best resource for you, and seeking out the best resources is actually a huge sign of strength and an act of personal control in your past, present, and your future. So click on the option and we'll share some great resources that you can choose from yourself. Now, Warwick chose to go even one step further than forgiving his mom's killer. Soon after his mother's murder, it made such a difference in his life when people raised money to pay for the down payment of a house that he and his siblings and his grandmother could live in. It gave him the stability he needed at that time to focus on his schoolwork, the new PTA meetings for his brothers and sisters, and all of his new responsibilities watching over them. And because of that experience, when he became an NFL player, he started a foundation to help underprivileged people to have a down payment of their very own house, and he purchased furniture for that house as well, so they wouldn't instantly feel like they were in someone else's house. They would instantly feel like they were at home. He has donated and raised enough money to help thousands of people purchase their own home. And an interesting result of all of this is that one of those families that he helped to purchase a home for right after Hurricane Katrina in 2006, that family included a 12-year-old little boy who needed the structure and the stability of having a physical home. That boy's name is Deshaun Watson, who at the time of this filming is still the NFL quarterback of the Houston Texans. And the ripple effects continue as Deshaun now donates large sums of money to help underprivileged people to purchase and furnish their own homes. It's amazing what a certain attitude can do, isn't it? So how do you get yourself to that place when the pains of your past are no longer dictating your current progress? Perhaps that's one of your greatest questions right now. You want more than anything to have an indestructible attitude, but you're really struggling with all of the steps that you need to take to make that possible. If that's the case, let me know in the comment section right here on this screen. Perhaps we can share some deeper and more specific emotional health perspectives that can address your situation. Now, before we close this session, there's one final person that I'd like for you to meet. Her name is Kim Fuch. I'm sure you've seen her picture from 1972 when she was only 9 years old. This shattering image was taken by Nick Ut, a 21-year-old Vietnamese photojournalist working for the Associated Press. Some people have suggested that this photograph sped up the end of the Vietnam War because 7 months after this picture circled the globe, the Paris Peace Accords were signed, which led to the withdrawal of U.S. combat forces from South Vietnam. For this photo, Nick Ut won the Pulitzer Prize and the World Press Photo of the Year for 1972. More importantly, though, he acted compassionately and responded humanely, probably saving Kim's life. Before he delivered his film, he took Kim to a hospital in Saigon, where she remained for 14 months, enduring 17 surgical procedures. Over 1/3 of her poor little body had been burned when a South Vietnamese pilot accidentally mistook fellow soldiers and civilians as enemy forces and had dropped his payload of napalm right on them. Fleeing down Route 1, Kim had to tear off her burning clothes as it scorched her skin from the back of her neck down to her knees. The pain of enduring 5 decades of laser treatments to dig holes through the thick scars to try to give her some relief from the pain that she describes as a 10 out of 10 doesn't even compare to the internal pain she suffered. When she first saw the photo, she thought, but I'm a little girl. I am naked. Why did he take that picture? I was just a child. I felt ugly, embarrassed, and also because my cousins, my brothers, they were around in that picture, and they're fine with their clothes on, and I am not. All that difficulty, trauma, nightmare, low self-esteem, all that I had to deal with, she says. Growing up as a young person in Vietnam, she felt devastated with physical and mental pain. Her thoughts were full of self-loathing, hatred. She even seriously considered suicide. Other kids recoiled from her disfigurement. Neighbors pitied her. Her injuries to her arms and her hands made her clumsy, and she would drop things often. But the physical pain was not what affected her the deepest. It was the photograph. She says, the more that picture got famous, the deeper the cost to my private life. The Vietnamese government recognized Kim's usefulness as a national symbol of war and forced her to leave school. They toured her around, forcing her to talk about her pain in endless interviews, and they made her appear in several propaganda films. She says, I had no freedom to make my own choices. Every movement of mine was under the control of the Vietnamese government, a communist country. I was just a prisoner within walls. I was like, what's wrong with me? And that filled me up with hatred. The napalm burn didn't kill me, but the hatred, the people abusing me, that almost killed me. So what did she do to escape this incredible pain and to find ultimate forgiveness? Mike Tucker, who has served as the anchor host of television's Lifestyle magazine, and to whom I am honored to continue his legacy here after his recent retirement. He sat down with Kim to ask her how she did it. And I want you to hear directly from her now.
We've come to the point now where you have chosen to forgive those who did this to you, chosen to forgive those who have caused you so much pain. And you said that this came about because of your conversion to Christianity. You saw in the Bible where he said, forgive and love your enemies.
Love your enemies.
So who did you view as your enemies right then that you had to love?
Whosoever caused my suffering.
That would include the pilot, commanders?
Everyone.
How about the United States? Is that a part of who you
Everyone
caused you
who
pain?
involved in my
All of us.
my suffering, like my own government
Yes.
controlling me, and like take me away from my school.
Yes.
And I said, why me? And that what happened to me, and everyone who caused my suffering.
You came to that conclusion in 1982. How long did it take you to come to the point where you thought you had forgiven everyone?
It took me a long time. For
I
a
don't
while.
doubt it.
Every day I just wake up and I have a choice to choose.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful that I have a right choice.
Yes.
And that is really healed my heart. Like I have a list of my enemies.
Yes.
After I learned, I have a list of prayer. I have a prayer list.
Yes.
And I started to pray for my enemies.
Bless your heart.
The more I pray to my enemies,
Yes.
the softer my heart became.
I hear the emotion in your voice right now as you talk about
yes.
that. It's
Because
still
that
there.
is not easy.
No.
As a human being, I have so much scars, I have so much pain, and it's impossible for me to do that.
Yes.
How can I love my enemies? But with God's help, He is able. He can help me. And with my attitude is like, before I cursed them, but
Yes.
now I pray for them. That is the action of love.
Yes, that is an action of love.
And
With so much division in our world, it seems like it's even stronger now than ever before.
Right.
Polar opposites, so much hatred.
yes.
Do you think this message is something that the world could learn from?
I think so. That because it's really helped me before. I was so miserable.
Yes.
I was so bitterness. I just wanted to die. But now I embrace my life. I count a blessing. I just look forward, the present and the future. The more I can help people, the more happy I am.
Yes.
And yes, I look at my life, it's so colorful. It's not darkness like before.
Yes.
And that is me. That little girl in the picture needed. And how much people in this world need it.
Absolutely.
Peace and joy, that is the one that I think everybody needed.
Did you catch what Kim did here? Her attitude changed. Once again, just like with the others we spoke about earlier, she realized that her problems didn't happen to her, they happened for her. She didn't let her pain dictate her progress. And although what she wanted to do was to help relieve people's pain by being a medical doctor, she ultimately realized that her purpose was, in fact, to relieve people's pain, but in a much larger way, by helping millions of people ravaged by the effects of war. And did you catch how she was able to change her state of mind from pain and hatred to love and life-changing productivity? She prayed for it. She actually prayed for her enemies to be blessed. Now, I don't know where you stand on this. Chances are the way prayer has been presented to you has been a lot like asking Santa Claus for the toys you want for Christmas. So no wonder you might chuckle and decide to let others believe in a fairy tale cure and talk to the sky for a solution here. I get it. And if that's what prayer is, I'd laugh and try to find a different solution too. But prayer is actually something very different, and it is quite effective. In fact, you cannot find any of the top success performance coaches in the world today that do not prescribe connecting with the divine to help you reach your highest levels of success. Why? Because God is real. Chances are, though, that he's much different than the unattractive way that he's been presented to you. And that's unfortunate, because once you are able to make a connection with him, your pain management can begin. Now, I'm not going to leave you all on your own here to figure this crazy prayer thing out. I have teams of people all across North America who can actually walk with you and even pray with you and for you during this week. So you'll notice that there's an option right there on your screen to let us know you'd like to connect with us in this way. So click on that option and let us know the best way to contact you. It's totally free, and no one will try to sell you anything or obligate you to anything further. They just want to pay forward what they've discovered through the healing power of prayer. They want you to experience it too. So what else are we going to work on to build an indestructible life? You already have a few things written down. You're going to focus on the diamond on the inside and ignore and devalue the box that surrounds you. You're not going to let the quantity of your life dictate the quality of your life. You're going to embrace the struggle because it does make you stronger. In pain, you will not let it dictate your progress. And with this mindset, it will allow you to pray for your enemies and actually take away the huge amounts of pain that are distracting you from your highest levels of success. This sounds like a good list to start with, doesn't it? Good, because having this kind of attitude helps us with the next things we'll be talking about in the coming days. For our next session, I want to share with you how I literally died in 2013 and I was dead for 11 and a half minutes. I want to share how that launched me on my life path to help you and anyone I could connect with to discover these 5 keys to becoming indestructible in a world that's falling apart. You don't want to miss it? It's going to change your life. We'll see you then.